Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're doing something a bit more extended than usual, as I'm taking a look at the Wave 4 of the Masters of the Universe Origins figures. And the only reason why I'm doing them all at once is because I found them all at once. Today at Target I had the surprise of finding all of them just sitting there on the pegs. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't pass this up. So I didn't. I picked them all up and I'm here now. I would have done videos on each of them separately, but because my phone is rather stingy with space when it comes to videos, I figured I'd just group them all up into one video. So yeah, as you can see here, here's all four of them. I think I'll get the rest of them out of the way, that way we can look at the unique packaging of each of them one at a time. I'm going to start off with Triclops. Alright, so here's Triclops in his packaging. You know, he's got the usual Masters packaging. Up here it says new for 21 because they've come out in the year 2021, which, as of this recording, is this year. And, you know, it's pretty much the same as everything else, you know. Unlike Scareglow, he doesn't have anything talking about his gimmick, which none of these figures do, and none of them are really gimmicky. But it says his name, Triclops, evil and sees everything. And that's pretty much it for the front. Now to the back. To the back, it's the same as everything else usually is, you know. The unique artwork, the cross-sell of the figures in that wave, and the things showing you what can be its gimmicks. And since it's a little cut off there, and I've got my stand at its tallest, I'll just say what it says up top. But it says, Triclops' multiple vision modes and optic attacks make him a dangerous soldier in Skeletor's army. Anyway, I'll bring him off to the side and then bring over the next figure. Next one being Stratos. The front of his packaging says Stratos Winged Warrior. And on the back, for his unique artwork, it looks nice. Only really shows Stratos, which I almost forgot to mention. On Triclops' artwork, it shows Screech, which is Skeletor's evil robotic bird, which might mean that may get a Screech in the future. But yeah, here on the back of Stratos it's nothing special. It doesn't really show anybody. But it does show Stratos with other avians, you know, a female one and two male ones. The two male ones looking like the early mini-comics Stratos from the original toys, and a nice little nod to the original toy where one's got blue wings and the other one's got red wings. This version of Stratos has the blue wings, which is based on a later release, but if you get the Masters of the WWE Universe Rey Mysterio from what Pixel Dan has shown, you can swap his jetpack and wings to make a original, or more original, I guess, looking Stratos. Anyway, let's bring him back. Next up, we've got Ninjor, Evil Ninja Warrior. This guy I'm quite excited for, as I know him best as being summoned side by side with Scareglow, so I personally find him to be a companion for him. But yeah. Here's on the back, you know, it shows Ninjor, Clamchamp, which was also shown on Scareglow's packaging, and King Randor, which is interesting. I didn't think that they'd even show King Randor, but they have, which gives me a hopeful future for getting a King Randor. And the top of his card says, Ninjor uses uncanny stealth abilities to spy on and surprise attack the heroes of Eternia. Well, that's him. And the one that lastly, the one I was most excited for in this wave, Hordak, the ruthless leader of the evil horde. And his card, more specifically the bubble, is slightly different than everyone else's because he's got the sticker saying the evil horde, which is a third faction when it comes to Masters of the Universe. Pretty much there's heroes, then 3 different factions of villains from what I understand, but to to each their own. Then here on the back, I think Hordak's got the most unique characters that haven't shown up yet on his card, as we've got Modulok. I can't remember his name, but his eyes pop out. I believe he is Leech, and I can't remember his name, but he's got fur. And just a couple generic Horde guys. And they're at the Fright Zone, which hopefully we'll get a playset of that too. But anyway, Hordak's little artwork thing says, Hordak's little artwork thing says, Hordak vows vengeance as he marches his evil horde into battle to conquer all of Eternia. So yeah, that's all of them. All the carded boys on card. I'm going to bring them back in for one last shot of them. And anyway, I'm going to pause the video to get all of them out of their packaging. Then we'll look at the mini comic, which I'm sure, as you can see from here, is the same with all of them. Then we'll take a look at each of them individually. Alright, so here is everyone out of the packaging. Now, before we go over them, I will say, like I said, I'll start by going over the mini comic. Each of them come with the same one, Sneak Attack. Just like Wave 2, I'm not sure if every wave is going to have the same amount of pages, but it's just a 6-page mini comic going over a little story featuring all these characters and He-Man and Skeletor, as He-Man and Skeletor will always be in the line. But another thing that I saw that I didn't know about is Mattel is now bringing up or putting in little pamphlets about the gimmick of swapping parts. Each of them comes with one unique to their character. I'm just showing up Hordak's real quick. But yeah, that's all the side stuff. I'm going to get everyone else out of the way real quick and review pretty much one figure at a time, and see you in a second. Alrighty, so we're starting off with Triclops, as he's kind of the most basic one, or at least the most basic one in my opinion. He pretty much shares his entire body with He-Man, with his unique parts being his armor, helmet, and I guess his weapon. But yeah, his gimmick's pretty much that he's got 3 different eyes. You know, you've got a kind of calm looking blue one, an angry looking red one. Let's try and keep this in focus. And then a super angry only red one, which this one is probably my personal favorite. Then on his back he's got a sword sheathed. You can just pop that out and put it in his right hand, just like so, you know, nice and easy. And to make this video a lot shorter than it would be if I covered everyone's articulation, I'm just going to cover the articulation on Triclops, as he's pretty much going to have the same articulation as everyone else. The only one having any kind of hindrance would be Hordak, but we'll talk about that when we get there. He's got a dumbbell joint at the head, so he's got a lot of tilt. He can look down that far and up that far. Strange shoulders. Oh, his sword popped off. I guess I'll put that back there for now. But you can move it 360, but it's at a weird angle. So if you have it straight down and try doing this, you have a tendency to pop it off, or when you get back here, it'll be straight. But yeah, you've got a swivel at the bicep and a 90-degree bend, and a swivel at the wrist and a hinge at the wrist that goes up and down. A swivel at the waist, which is about it. And his legs can go that far forward, like not really much more if you try twisting it forward, and pretty much nothing at the back. A swivel at the knee and a 90-degree bend at the knee. A swivel at the calf and a hinge and rocker at the foot. So yeah, that's his articulation. I guess I'll go over the paint. You know, paint is okay. I will say I think this wave's gotten slightly sloppy compared to everything else, but nothing too bad. You know, he's got orange on his chest, which Oops, didn't mean to do that. Which in person looks like really thickly put on, but also not put on thick enough because it's very glossy, but I can also see a little bit of green peeking through. Then on his cheek, I'm not sure if you can see it. Let's see if I can get that focused in. We've got a little blemish right there. And also, sometimes Triclops' eye thing, I'm not sure how well you can notice that, but it'll be kind of crooked until you just push it up, then it's alright, but it does have a tendency for when pushed down to get crooked. Anyway, I guess I'll do a quick comparison with him. Starting off with his boss, Skeletor, which is in an action pose. I guess I'll get him straightened out real quick. Yeah, there's his evil boss, Skeletor. And then the man he shares a body with, He-Man, which I do believe they share the same skin tone. So if you wanted, you could just get a second He-Man, change his hair color to brown, and put his head on this body, and you've pretty much got a savage He-Man. Anyway, now on to the next guy. Alright, next up on the chopping block, we've got Stratos, and he's Stratos. What more do you need to say? I will say I'm a little disappointed that the only accessories he comes with are his wings, which are detachable. They're also made of a much more rigid plastic than I was expecting. But I figured he could have come with something like the Staff of Avion, as that's a very important Stratos-related thing in the mini-comic. But he doesn't really come with anything. But anyway, I guess we could go over his details. He pretty much shares his entire body with Beastman, with his unique parts being his head, harness, and wings, which his harness is a unique backwards looking one with a jetpack on the back, which is not removable, and all the straps being in the front, which is different, as I'll show it real quick with Skeletor. Everyone's harnesses tend to be in the back rather than the front, so I think that's kind of neat. And this one is the Blue Wing Red Harness version, rather than in the original toy line, the first Stratos was Red Wings Blue Harness, but that's not much else. Anyway, before we go into comparisons, let's go over paint, which the only paint detail being is on his little tunic or underwear, which is okay, and his face, which is good. This detail on older versions of Stratos, like the vintage figure and the classics figure, had his upper eyelid be gray like his body, but now it's just blue like his goggles. And I don't know if I forgot to mention it or not, but he does share his body with Beastman, which, for comparisons, I'll compare him with Beastman, which, even though they do share the same body, they do make good use of it, making it look a little different. But yeah, now on to the next guy. Next up, we've got Ninjor, which at least you can see him because of my poopy camera, but he is black like my background, which is probably not the best choice of background color, especially with this guy and the last guy we're doing. But Ninjor, you know, he looks alright. I will say something unique about him is he's probably the first figure from Origins that I've gotten that has two holding hands, so he can hold multiple accessories. So I guess I'll move his sword from this hand to this hand and take his bow and stick that in this hand. So you can have your evil ninja warrior doing a lot of ninja stuff. And I guess the last accessory of his I'll show off in his hands will be his nunchucks, which do have a chain. It's a plastic one, not a metal one, from what I understand. The original vintage toy had a metal chain, Nothing too big to worry about. He can hold it. Now, I will say, even though he does have weapon storage, he is pretty much going to have one weapon in his hands at all times because let's move him to his back real quick. He's got 2 slots to put weapons. This little ring down here is specifically for his nunchucks, and back here it can either be for his sword, which you got to put in at a little bit of an angle like that, or for his bow using this little thing. Just do the same thing, but you cannot have both of them in at all times, and because I like his sword more, I'm going to keep him with his sword. Now, paint wise, his face is alright, which I'm not mad about the fact that they aren't using cloth goods. I'm perfectly fine with his face being covered. I never did like his face underneath on the vintage toy. But yeah, the tempo of the dragon with the sword is nice. The red on his arms look a little thin, but not that big of a deal. And there's a little bit of a white blemish right here on his belt. I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, overall, paint on Ninjor is pretty good. And let's get this out of the way. I'll compare him with his little comic buddy, Scareglow. These two, in my personal opinion, they feel right together. Because the way I know them best is being summoned by Skeletor at the same time to bolster his ranks of his evil warriors. So yeah, I feel these two look amazing together. Now, let's get on to our last figure. Alright, and here lastly, we've got Hordak, and he's probably the most unique mold out of everyone else in this wave, which I'm not surprised. Hordak always needs a lot of unique stuff for him. But yeah, he looks really nice, which kind of disappoints me because I do have one problem with my copy of the figure. This foot is way too loose. Like, every time I try popping it off and on, I feel like it would fix the problem, but I can just flick it and it moves way too much. Even on this foot as well. Like, I'll do a quick comparison with Stratos here. I can flick his foot and it stays, but I'm not sure if it's going on with what in Hordak, but I'll have to figure that out later. But yeah, Hordak has a nice little cape. It's not as easily removable as Scareglow's because it's part of his chest armor, which is removable, but I'm not going to do that. He also comes with a nice little armband, which I think this figure's got the most paint out of all of the ones I've got so far. And paint is okay on all the blacks. The paint on his face is great. But yeah, I guess I'll go over paint on him. His chest armor's got a little bit of missing paint up here at the corner. The paint at his shins looks like it missed the mark a little bit on this one. This one looks fine. And it looks okay on his shoulder band, or bicep band. And the silver on his belt, I say, just looks incredible. But yeah, Hordak comes with 2 accessories. His imp, which I think looks great. Almost forgot, but yeah. His imp looks great. It just clips on like an armor piece, which it was a pain in the butt to get that clip to go through, and you just slide it onto his wrist. And his little crossbow, which it kind of has a gimmick, but nothing too special. You just clip this in here, then you push down on this, and it'll push forward a little bit. So nothing too special. I will say it's nice to finally have the leader of the Horde, and I can't wait to get more. But anyway, let's get on to comparisons. I'll compare him with Skeletor, which these two look great together. And oops, dropped something. There we go. And lastly, let's compare him with He-Man. Anyway, I'm gonna pause the video, get all of the Wave 4 figures together, and give my final thoughts on the Wave as a whole. Alrighty, so yeah, as a whole, I will say I do like this Wave. You know, I think it is a fine addition to anybody's Masters of the Universe collection. All of these characters are pretty much characters that everyone's gonna want. Maybe not Ninjor, that's more for people who like the later figures or just want to complete everything, which thankfully I'm kind of in that mix of both. Yeah, I find all these figures are great. I'm hoping that the leg issue with my Hordak isn't with every Hordak. But yeah, if you want to get these figures, I found mine at Target, so they are heading Target right now. Walmart's still a little stuck with Wave 1 figures only, but yeah. I like these, and I hope you do too if you want them. So anyway, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, just leave a dislike. And as always, if you want to say something, go ahead and leave a comment. And thank you for watching.